Merlin Rabbits in there as opposed to Docs, and just all the Amethyst package, the songs like Zeus and Strength. This is a deck type that he is very, very familiar with. Also playing Amber Ruby, which is an incredibly aggressive deck. No Mufasas, no Racers, all gas, no breaks with it. Nada mean. Cards like Daisy Duck, Lilo Making a Wish, the Piglet Pooh Pirate Captain, and of course we saw him finish off that match, or one of the games anyway, with Gloyd Orange Boar, Fierce Competitor, where you game on lore and the opponent loses the lore. And then the final deck list for Zach Bivens is Emerald Sapphire. And there's one card in this list that I'm a big fan of, Ratigan's Marvelous Trap.
What are we going to do if that card actually gets played in this match?
I will go absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I can see it now. You all don't see it, but Baker is just as emotive in the booth with his hands and arms as you would imagine he would be casting these matches. I have to lean back sometimes. It's amazing.
Never lean back. Hey, never, don't you dare.
Lean in.
Don't you dare withdraw your wings because you feel like you're taking up too much space in the room, Liam. You fly, my friend. But please, talk us through these deck lists brought by DKP.
DKP is bringing a few interesting lists. On the one hand, he does have a fairly standard Amethyst Steel list, a list that I really, really like for this tournament, and it's done a lot of work here, but with a little bit of a twist. Magic Brooms and Yen Sids, to go with those Magic Brooms, have kind of worked their way into these deck lists in the past just couple weeks, really. DKP either coming up down on his own or looking and saying, I see that combination, and working those into this Amethyst Steel list. This is kind of a mid-rangey deck that can actually go long games, close things out using some of its reach cards, but also move quickly when it needs to, and DKP's played this deck expertly so far. He's also running a Ruby Sapphire list. This is a list that he is well known for.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's played this at every single Disney Lorcana challenge that has ever been.
That's true. And it's so much so that there's often lists and decks out there that are referred to as the DKP list, and everybody looks to him to kind of set the trend on this deck, as well as a couple other players out there like Pierre-Marc Duguay, another player here in Disney Lorcana Challenge who is well known for these colors as well. This is a fairly standard list as I'm looking at it. He does run the Maui Half Shark, but for McDuck Manor, Scrooge's Mansion, those aren't always in this list, but really good into the mirror. And one copy of Merlin's Carpet Bag, which is really fun. I hope it comes out so I can sing Hockety Pockety.
I hope you will, my friend Liam. But yeah, the Merlin's Carpet Bag allowing you to recur items from the discard. So getting back those porpicles to just keep drawing and making our way through the deck. Super consistent. We've seen this strategy perform well over the course of the weekend. But I think the story here overall is Zach Bivens has the decks that are really, really aggressive. Obviously, we saw the Amber Ruby deck, how quickly that can get to 20. Amethyst Steel known for generally for being a mid-range deck that has those lore burst potential cards like Merlin Goat, the Giant Cobra, the White Rose, and then of course the last deck, the Emerald Sapphire deck, being very item heavy and just weird. Like if I was up against this, I'd be like, I have no idea what you're trying to do. There's a Galactic Communicator in here. I do like the Louie though, Endearing Alligator. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a fun card, and a card that Zach started to work into his deck way back when Reign of Jafar was released. It's a card that I think he got people to take a look at when he brought it into a third-party tournament, as well as running that just as a fun little flavor note, that Aladdin with Ward from set 1, which was a lot of fun. I know you loved
just to live long enough to sing something.
Right.
But here we go. We are moving into the next. We've done our benching phase. Amethyst Steel is going to be off the table, and Amber Ruby is going to be off the table. So now both players are going to choose in secret the deck that they are going to be starting with for game 1, and this is going to set the tone for the entire match.
Yeah, deck benching is really interesting here. On the one hand, that Amethyst Steel deck is something that can win on the play or on the draw. It's a very dangerous deck, and if you've watched DKP pilot this deck, it almost seems inevitable as he's gaining lore every single turn and piling it expertly. On the other hand, Zach Bivens' deck, that Amber Ruby deck, goes so fast. And if you've seen it in action, it can close out games just like that. I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed win on the play because there's always things that people can do, but
it's about as close as you can possibly get to it.
It's darn close, that's right.
And it shows you the respect for the power level of that. DKP, I never thought I'd see the day banning Amber Ruby over Amethyst Steel. Like, Amethyst and Steel thought of as two of the best color combinations in the game, and Amber Ruby always being a bit of a let's call it a off-meta deck. We've seen it have good performances over time, generally Mufasa builds, but what a thing. Amber Ruby bench. So Zach Bivens will be going with Emerald Sapphire and Amethyst Steel. And Amethyst Steel will be the first matchup against Ruby Sapphire. And we saw this matchup earlier from Zach Bivens. Bivens hoping to close out the game before DKP can get to that late part of the game where the Ruby Sapphire deck really does shine.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. The way I like describing this deck is inevitability. It does move quickly in the early game, but every single turn it has cards with a little bit of reach. It has cards like White Roses. It has cards like Giant Cobra. It's looking for ways to gain 2, 3, 4 lore each turn. Has a little bit of control to allow you to do what you need. You can bounce cards around with some of these, the bounce cards, the bounce package that we are familiar with Rise of the Floodborn, but it just feels like when you're playing against this deck, you watch it grind its way slowly up to 20 lore before it's too late. It doesn't do a ton of burst, unless you're running that Yensid Broom package where you have that early game lore burst. But yeah, it's really interesting. DKP, though, has a card to kind of counter that grind. I believe he's running a Pirate's Life with that Maui Half Shark package.
This is absolutely staple in the DKP style of the list. Obviously, the Maui Half Shark having the having evasive and then two incredibly incredible abilities, being able to return actions from your discard back to your hand, and whenever you play an action, you gain a lore, and the Pirate's Life is indeed an action. So if you play that while you've got a Shark on board, you're going +3 lore to your opponent's -2, and throw down another Shark. It really gets carried away, Liam.
Yeah, that is a finisher, as they say.
For sure.
So Maui Half Shark is a card that Din is going to be looking to get on the board as soon as possible because it shuts down the aggression from Zach. Zach not wanting to allow Din to recur a lot of his items, and then that Pirate's Life there, knocking Zach back 2, 4, 6 lore throughout the game is really, really frustrating. Getting to 20 lore is hard enough. There's a reason that's how you win the game. But getting to 22, 24, and 26 lore, I mean, that's even harder.
100%. Maybe we need to see that Donald Duck, the flustered sorcerer.
Yes.
Shout out to Tim, part of the German Ravensburger team, by the way. Incredible guy. I know he had a lot to do with the creation of that particular card. A very interesting one where your opponent has to get 25 lore to win the game. What next? 50?
That's right. And shout out to Ariwelli for bringing that art to life.
There you go. Shout out to you guys. But here we go. Game 1 of the last semi-final match of the World Championship. But Zach Bivens is going to be on the play, playing Amethyst Steel, which is his pet deck, up against DKP on Ruby Sapphire. A lot of players would have benched the Ruby Sapphire deck for DKP, but Zach Bivens saying, I don't care what your best deck is, I care much more about what I think my decks can be.
And DKP with a really top-heavy hand there, and critically without any ramp cards, any turn 1 play, so shipping all 7 back to the bottom of his deck, drawing 7 new cards. A little bit more favorable there, but I think I saw he's still missing that turn 2 ramp.
That's the most important, right? You hate to miss the turn 1 ice cream, but missing turn 2 ramp is pretty bad.
We'll take a look. I may have missed it as he shuffled by it, but we do have the turn 1 popsicle, so perhaps we can find it if we are missing it. Players looking away, shuffling up. I didn't get a good look at Zach's hand, though, but I did see some lower cost cards. Let's see what they do. The fist bump there.
I do like the mascot on the table, Ratatouille as well. But here we go, altar complete. Let's see how we're going to set the tone for this first game. Zach Bivens again is on the play. I see a pretty nice hand there. I see the Smee for a nice turn 2 drop potentially. Maybe there's a Calhoun, but I don't think Calhoun is typically a character you would play against this deck unless DKP was to play a T-Po. But even then, Zach Bivens is going to get his turn 2 before DKP does. So I imagine Smee's going to be the priority there. I didn't get a good enough look at the hand to see if there are any 1-drops. I hope so. There's a few in the deck.
So we don't have that ramp on turn. Is that a sail on top?
If it is, then that's a lot better for DKP. Again, it is so important to get that turn 2 ramp. And again, if you're new to no 1-drop.
So look, we do have Develop Your Brain. We can go looking for that turn 2 card that you need. You do have a Visions of the Future as well, so you can dig a little bit. But Develop Your Brain here, I mean, was probably the play to try to find that turn 2 ramp. There it is. We're going to look at the top 2 cards. And there it is, Sail the Azurite Sea. Oh my goodness, right off the top. Woo.
To be fair, when you alter 7 and then you do a dig on turn 1, there's 8 ramp cards in the deck. It's pretty bad luck if you don't find it by that point. So a sigh of relief from DKP, but yeah, super unfortunate from Bivens' side of the field, missing the 1-drop completely. We now find the Magic Broom. It's a little bit too late, but we are going to see the bumbling mate, Mr. Smee, coming down. He's a 3/3 quest for 2. One of the best 2-drops in the game, Liam. He will take 1 damage at the end of the turn if there's no captain in play, but players don't generally care that much. As long as he got to quest once and then trade with something, even that's good enough.
One of the better cards in the game, really. Incredibly well statted in quest for 2.
You're right.
As a back over, we will get the popsicle, Sail the Azurite Sea to ramp there, and Zach playing the White Rose there, which will get him a lure upon entering the play, and that's a 3/3 body on the board.
Yep, and of course this Mr. Smee able to go on a little quest and gets his toe bitten by a crab, taking 1 damage. Shame there wasn't a captain around to sweep those crabs away, but like I said, we're not too bothered if Smee's taking a little bit of damage. He's questing, he's hopefully going to trade with something eventually. This is a pretty good position for Zach. Missing one drop is unfortunate, but them's be the breaks. We do have that rabbit potential for turn 4. I think that's probably got good odds to come down unless Zach wants to extend with a couple of smaller characters. No, we do go with that Merlin rabbit with a hoppity-hop ability, going to draw a card.
Yeah, but look at Ding Cam Fam here. His initial hand was rough. His next hand was a little better, but he did find that ramp. He's ramped twice now, and he has 2 Maui Half Sharks in hand. We're going to get one of them on the board right now. That's unfortunate because he's going to shut down that questing. Zach now has to make a choice. If he wants to keep gathering lore, he's going to open up a challenge from that shark, which can recur an item from the discard pile. And I'm sorry, not an item, an action. And there's plenty of actions there for him to draw, ones that you would rather Din not play again. And on top of that, Din also has some of his end game sweepers in play that in his hand. He does have the Be Prepared, and he does have the Sisu. So now that he's managed to ramp twice, things are going to get a little more dicey now that those answers are available.
Yeah, it just shows you the power of being able to ramp both on turns, well, 2 and 3. You play your 2-cost ramp and your 4-cost ramp on turn 3 due to the ramp and getting out this half shark as soon as possible, hoping to freeze the board a little bit and put Zach off of questing and getting too high in lore. But at the same time, I don't think Bivens is going to be too off-put by questing. That is the name of the game. And if he can find an Along Came Zeus, which I do see in the hand already, that could have some good potential to be able to... Is that Zeus? No, it's a cannon. So my mistake. My mistake. I was going to say if it was, I expected we would have sung with a rabbit before bouncing it, but... There are 4 Zeus in the deck, and there are Strength for a Raging Fires. If we can get one more character down this turn, the next turn, if we find a Strength, then that puts it online. Here's the Rose.
It'd be another lore for Zach, going up to 8. And again, Zach really, really wants to get, once he gets in the 14, 15, 16 lore range, he's more than happy to just draw cards, close out this game by finding those extra lore gain cards that gain lore upon entering play, not requiring any questing, or perhaps trying to stick 1 or 2 characters per turn. So really, really trying to push it up there. I think he's pretty much on plan. He'd like to be a couple more lore ahead if he did find that 1 drop, as you pointed out earlier. But it is a little trickier now staring at that half shark across the board.
Okay, so we're going to sing how far I'll go with the Maui Half Shark. Worth noting there is a Half Shark in DKP's hand. Could have played that down to be able to gain an extra lore off of this, but DKP clearly wanting to do something else with that ink if he can. Certainly digging. There is a Be Prepared in hand, I believe we've already noticed. There it is. We're going to see it straight away. Be prepared. Yes, Liam, join me, my friend. And it's interesting because Zach Bivens is holding on to the one and only copy of Pete Games Referee inside the deck. Now, don't get me wrong, we have Foxes and Snakes, so there's potential to be able to replay it, but only 1 Pete is certainly interesting.
But 1 Pete and having it in hand there, choosing not to play. But here's the thing, like, you don't have many ways to get rid of that half shark there. There's a couple, but one of the best ways is to force it.
Let your opponent do it for you.
And then turn it back over to you so you can rebuild your side of the board.
And we're able to immediately throw down the Merlin Rabbit, draw ourselves another card, and I think this is the first time in Top Cut I've seen Zach go above 4 ink.
Oh, and there comes that Sisu, which will come down, clear both those characters. Now, Zach will get 1 card off of each of those.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel good now to be staring at a Sisu and having to rebuild again.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The Diablo, of course, drawing you a card when banished, and the Rabbit drawing you a card when it leaves play. So both cards immediately replacing themselves. We're going to play a White Rose. We're going up to 9 lore, so we're nearly halfway there. No answer to this Sisu just yet. We haven't seen a Zeus yet, which is unfortunate. And down comes the Calhoun.
Oh, Calhoun, a great card, has resist 2. It's better in the early game, but here it could do some work. It only quests for 1, but if it challenges into and banishes another character, you get 2 lore off of it.
Yeah, and if worst came to worst, we could at least cannons and then finish off with a Calhoun challenge. But down comes the next Maui Half Shark onto the board, threatening to recur actions. And we are going to be singing Pirate's Life. That's going to take Zach down to 7 lore. DKP is going to go up to 4 lore, and then up to 5, courtesy of the Maui Half Shark Chee-hoo ability.
And that's one of the cards that Zach really doesn't want DKP to find here in this matchup.
And it's in the discard pile now.
And it's in the discard pile now. So now questing becomes even more of a risk. More of a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to evaluate this risk reward now anytime you're potentially giving value. We're going to have a quick version of Renz on the other side, which I'm never singing again because JD absolutely made me look like a not on purpose. Let's put it this way. He nailed it. So I think that's absolutely JDZ's card now. But Friends on the other side drawing a couple of cards for the White Rose. We are going to play that Fire the Cannons to put 2 damage on the Sisu, and then we're going to finish off with the Calhoun. There is a 2 for 1, but we get a big threat off the board, and we get 2 lore bursts. And down comes Along Came Zeus, Liam.
Along came Zeus, and Maui is off the board.
Maui has had a thunderbolt hurled at him from the heavens and made his way straight back to the storybook.
So very effective turn there from Zach, clearing up those big threats on the other side of the board. His board looks a little smaller. He does have the one right rose, but back over to DKP now, who has to figure out how to answer that rose.
These white roses have been putting in a lot of work, gaining lore as soon as they're played, and then just the 3-3 body. Not bad at all. How many cards left in Zach's hand? I think it's 3. I'll double check that in a moment. But we're over to DKP, who's going to draw a card, has an empty board other than a single ice cream, the Popsicle, the one-cost item.
Did he draw another shark? Did he top deck another shark?
He did indeed.
I think he did. I mean,
that's 3 gone. That's 3 now, though, right? One was B prepped, one was Zeused. We now get another one onto the board, and of course, this Maui Half Shark not able to challenge straight away. You would need Rush to do that, or to give it use a Vitalosphere, something like that. Or obviously, if this was an Amethyst Ruby deck, you could use Peter Pan Shadow Finder. But in this particular list, Maui Half Shark can be slow, but it doesn't matter. It still checks the opponent. Here comes that one copy of Pete Games Referee and extending with a Calhoun.
Yeah, now Zach, he does have Strength of Raging Fire in his hand. That's one thing he can use to clear up that Maui Half Shark, but he'll need to get 5 characters on the board. So one of the considerations here, he wants to keep all of his characters on board, prevent a Be Prepared, so he can stick those next 2 characters here, then sing Strength of Raging Fire with the White Rose, perhaps, but DKP dropping down those McDuck Manors. We saw them in the quarterfinals do significant work. Were you in that game?
I was watching that game.
Yeah. No, we were both watching that game.
Well, I might have been casting it. I think I was watching, but we've seen this play many times from DKP. They're kind of the staple plays of both Ed and DKP, putting out these multiple locations to create and again, copyright Ed, this is the way he put it in an interview not too long ago. They create a 2-pronged attack, right? You're creating multiple threat levels that your opponent has to respond to, and it synergizes super well with the Maui Half Shark here, because you really want, you want to get rid of these manners. They're giving you 2 lore return. You want to be able to remove them, but by challenging and turning sideways, the Maui Half Shark can now get a nice challenge, return an action to the hand. We're going to play a crab. We boost up something, and down comes a Palace Sentry as well. And there's the Strength of a Raging Fire. Be a man.
And the force of a great Typhoon.
Absolutely.
And now with that crab gave challenger to that Pete Games Referee, giving it +3 on the challenge, making it easy to challenge into that McDuck Manor, along with that Calhoun, banishing that from the board. So Zach here forced to go in a little bit of control mode. DKP, though, doesn't have what he needs, it looks like, to rebuild the board. Perhaps he does, but at least looking for more options. Going to look at the top 5 cards. I do see another Pirate's Life there, so we could take that and knock his lore back. But also, if he doesn't have much to rebuild the board, perhaps trying to find a bigger character. We do see that Happy as a Clam there as well, so there's a lot of good options.
But the fact that 3 Maui Half Sharks are already gone is pretty huge for Zach Bivens. Not going to have to worry about too many more of those, but we do, of course, have the Happy as a Clam Tamatoas that are able to recycle items from the discard, and you're just putting a 2 questing body on the board. Here comes the Maui Hero to all. Probably the P, I would expect here to stop a bounce of that P to put off more B preps, and that is indeed what does happen. Maui's going to take 3. Are we going to pop the Popsicle to heal up? That would leave us with just 1 damage, which is pretty good, meaning that none of these characters can take out care of this Maui in one shot. Unless we see another crab come down.
And I love this cheeky little nesting that Maui in the manor, because why not?
Why not?
Why not? You get no abilities out of it, but why not let Maui enjoy some time in McDuck Manor? It's probably a pretty luxurious place, so he'll chill there as he passes it back.
I don't know if Maui in the fine established McDuck Manor is the safest choice. I imagine Scrooge is going to have a heck of a renovation bill by the time he's finished crashing around in there, but it is the DKP special.
That's fair. I love it.
Zach taking a moment. Obviously, the pace of play of these players has been really, really good. We've got loads of time, but these guys, absolute experts. They know their decks. They know the matchups. They can identify the best plays pretty quickly a lot of the time. We're going to fire the cannons into that Maui, and then the Calhoun is going to finish the job and giving us another 2 lore bursts, taking us up to 11. The crab putting 3 damage into the McDuck Manor, which is super relevant. Oh, now we're going to play the snake, bounce the crab, give challenger 3 to the White Rose, and finish it off in 1. What a play by Zach Bivens.
That crab is so sneaky. Gives challenge upon entering, gives challenge upon leaving. It can challenge in the meantime. Both of those manors clean up. That was 18 willpower, which is a lot to overcome. Zach doing it there with the help of the crab. And now Din's side of the board is empty. He's going to have to rebuild. Zach up to 12 lore with 3 lore on the board and a couple cards in hand.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Bivens, of course. Oh! Straight off the top of the deck, we see it. Be prepared.
good.
I think that's my last one of the weekend, guys.
My goodness,
I think that's it. I think we're
might have to
retiring.
be. Oh, the moments get bigger each and every time you do it. Zach playing that crab back to board here. It's just a body. It'll quest for one. Din, though, not a lot of cards in hand. Will draw one from the popsicle. He does draw into Happy as a Clam, taking a look at what items are there available, drawing the card that he needs really to start this engine going again. There comes Happy as a Clam, the shiny version, the shiniest version. It is so shiny, pulling back 2 popsicles from the discard pile. Happy as a Clam basically says, play this card, pay 2 ink, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, 100%. That B prep off the top was huge. Bivens having 4 characters on board. The Pete is gone. It's in the discard. We will not see another games referee blow the whistle in this particular game unless Zach Bivens loses this game and then could reuse the Amethyst Steel deck. But yeah, Bivens down to just a crab and 1 card in hand. We have gone through 2 B preps, 3 Maui Half Sharks. So some of those really powerful resources are gone, but Zach only at 12 lore, but running so many of those lore burst cards, Liam. The Cobras, the White Roses, the Goats. Zach can still get over this finish line.
As long as DKB doesn't find another Pirate's Life, Zach is more than happy to just keep drawing cards, finding those instant lore cards, dropping characters on the board, forcing him to respond. I mean, DKP has drawn a couple cards off those popsicles, but still a small hand size.
Ooh, that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, so we've got a Zeus and a Smee in hand, but we've only got 5 ink. So we can only ever do one or the other. The crab being a 3-cost character cannot sing this 4-cost Along Came Zeus. So this is going to be a choice from Bivens. Do you prioritize getting rid of this Tamatoa, stopping it playing items for free, stopping it questing for more? But if we do that, we're not playing Mr. Smee and we're only going up to 13 lore this turn. Or do we put Smee on board to just try and get there all the quicker? We might want to save the Zeus for a Shark, because I think the Shark is scarier.
It is such, we are going to get rid of it. It's such a gamble, right? Because if the Tamatoa Happy as a Clam quest, you put in a popsicle, that's not so bad. But if you happen to drop a lucky dime, that feels brutal. So prioritizing removing that Tamatoa, foregoing the Smee for this turn.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In versions of no lucky dime in this particular version of the list, but you're absolutely right, Liam. Against those item workshop builds, then it can be scary. We're going to see another McDuck mana come onto the boards. Not enough ink to move the Maui in.
Not this time. This Maui forced to spend time outside. And a rabbit is a great card.
That's so good, mate, honestly, because this rabbit is going to represent always at least one more card. And if we can find a fox or a snake, then it's even more. But we need to deal with this mana.
Yeah, these decks, these Steel Amethyst decks, they really need to find one of their card draw engines in the mid-game to kind of keep them going. You either need a rabbit or perhaps to string some docks together. If you don't, you can slow down quite a bit, and we saw Zach's hand size get a little bit low, and his ink total stay a little bit low. So finding this rabbit is huge in this moment.
Yeah, 100%. Can we, if we got ink, we maybe we can play the Smee. Yep, that's exactly what we have. And taking a moment to think about that, right? Because the crab is super good in being able to deal with these McDuck manners, especially if you can bounce it. But Bivens wanting to just extend to the board. We are going to sing How Far I'll Go. See the line where the deck meets my hand. It ramps me.
How long have you been waiting on that?
I've been saying that all season. Nonetheless, we're going to look at the top 2 cards of the deck. 1 goes into our hand, 1 into our Inkwell face down and exerted. Bivens threatening to go to 16 lore on the next turn, which, hey, when you're an Amethyst deck, that is the danger zone, Liam.
That is the danger zone. Now, important to note, DKB did find another one of those B preparers earlier, so he has that as an option. And there it is, coming down.
The 3rd one. You do it, Liam. Go on.
You have to join me.
Okay.
Be prepared.
Yes,
was that off key?
Not at all.
Oh, perfect.
Maybe, I don't know.
All right, and the prepared followed up. We have the McDuck Manor on board still. Back over to Zach, dropping down that Palace Guard Spectral Sentry, followed by a goat. We talked about instant lore gain. There is one of it. That goat, of course, represents another lore on the board. It'll either quest or gain a lore when it leaves play, and you can bounce around and do some little bouncy shenanigans.
The Pirate's Life off the top of the deck there for DKP. Not what Bivens wants to see, although we have nothing that can sing it. So if he does play it this turn, we're not leaving ourselves a lot of ink. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'd be leaving 4 ink left to play with, which is not bad, to be fair. We could play a Tala, a How Far I'll Go, something like that, and we could still ink for turn.
But look at this. I mean, the McDuck Manor, though, now with DKP going up to 14, represents a 3-turn clock. So that means that Bivens really, he wants to be racing, and he's going to really have to think about how to take time off to deal with this McDuck Manor now.
DKP at 14 lore.
That Pirate's Life looms really large.
It really does. And now Bivens is in the situation where really he'd love to ignore this mana and just be focusing on questing and getting to game. But DKP at 14 lore, he is going to take that play, though, of just questing. We're just ignoring. Oh, we found a fox.
The goat.
That is huge. We bounced the goat back to our hand, and now this fox can put 4 damage into this mana, and the next turn we'll be able to replay this goat.
Yeah, big play there. I mean, it is still, we're not going to be able to clean up the mana completely here, so it is still scary. DKP is going to go up to 16 lore on his turn once we pass it back over.
3.
Oh, you'd
How many
love...
preps in the deck, Liam?
I think there are 4.
It is 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you'd love to have one more ink to play that goat this turn. You don't. We're going to have to hold it, and there's nothing else available. So that Fox will do a little bit of work, but Zach going to have to answer that mana in the next couple turns.
And you can see why earlier DKP choosing to play a prep on just a board of, I think it was Rabbit Smee. Obviously, that's free lore, so getting rid of that is good. But just removing this Rabbit, stopping it being able to be bounced back to Zach's hand and let him start to rebuild resources. We find the Growing Sun, is it Growing Boy or Growing Sun? One or the other. The T-Po off the top of the deck. Not really what you want to see. We're going to Vision of the Future, a Prophecy to foretell the top 5 cards of the deck. Oh, the last Shark and the last Be Prepared. We can only take one, Liam. One's going to go to the bottom of the deck.
I think the Shark's going here. The Shark will shut down any questing from Zach. You're afraid to open up that Pirate's Life again, so we're going to play T-Po and the Maui. T-Po not doing any ramp. They're just getting another body on the board. And now, unfortunately, Zach can't quest without recurring that Pirate's Life.
We're threatening game. We're threatening game already.
So
Because the mana would go to 18, quest for both our characters. And if we can play an action, we do cannons the T-Po, but it's still threatening game if DKP has an action. We're going to go, we got a 15.
Oh dear, this is so tough. Nothing else to be done here, Zach. Wait, I mean, you cannot quest with that Fox without opening up that challenge from the Maui.
Just going to have to let DKP go to 19 here, is it? And it's a hideaway.
It's a hideaway.
It's a hideaway. That's
and
it.
He'll hide away his own.
And DKP takes game 1 of the semi-finals here at the World Championship. My goodness me, the McDuck Manners and the Maui Half Sharks and the B-Preps putting in all the work we know they can.
I mean, that felt like a marathon. I mean, DKP so many times found what he needed. He found the answers that he needed. That Be Prepared top deck was fantastic, having those Maui Sharks, and then he found the ramp he needed, which he didn't have early on, shipping all 7 cards in order to find the card that he needed on turn 2. Zach played an excellent game, right on game plan, but DKP just having the right card at the right time each and every time.
Yeah, like, honestly, a sequence of pretty good top decks from DKP, but I can't hold him against him. I can't hold it against him. This deck is built for consistency. You're digging through with Develop Your Brains, Porpsicles, How Far I'll Go, Vision of the Future. It's not unreasonable to be finding these cards that are going to help you. So, yeah, DKP on the draw in what I think is not the most favorable matchup for Ruby Sapphire, able to take that win, moving on to game 2 now. So, DKP's Ruby Sapphire deck is now out of contention for the remainder of this match. DKP will have to swap to his last remaining deck, whereas Zach Bivens will have the choice to either switch or stick with Amethyst Steel.
And, you know, I love learning more about these players. We know a lot about them already, but one of the best ways to learn even more about them is to hear from some of their friends. I'm excited between this match. We're going to learn a bit more about DKP from somebody very close to him.
Hey, Lumineers. I am here with Robert, who came with DKP this weekend, and we wanted to bring him on and just give some words of encouragement to DKP. He's been challenging and questing his way here to the semifinals. Do you have some words for your friend?
Honestly, he's been working so hard throughout the entire year. I think he's got this. He knows exactly what to do. We're sitting watching from the sidelines, and we're not even doing the plays he's seeing, so he's definitely got those reps in, and I'm excited for him.
We're excited to watch these next couple of games, or maybe just one game. He took game 1. We shall see. Thanks so much, Robert. We're going back to the booth.
Great to see there the support being handed out for DKP. And yes, we do have some people in the audience, players of +1s and players that have been playing over the weekend, who are keen to see how this weekend, how will the story end, and who will be named the first ever world champion.
Yeah, it is really fun to see support out there, especially from players, competitors who perhaps were beaten by some of these players who didn't make the top cut. The oohs and the ahs out there, we hear them every single time there's a big play, like a top deck or something like that. Everybody, you know, cheering or groaning, depending on who they're cheering for. It's a lot of fun to hear.
So DKP has Amber Emerald as the last deck open available to him for this semi-final match. Either he wins here and takes the 2-0, or he'll lose and he'll still have to stick with that match. Whereas Bivens is sticking with that Amethyst Steel deck. If he can tie it as 1-1, then we will see Emerald Sapphire versus Emerald Amber. A really interesting matchup. But here we go, our players drawing their first 7 cards.
Now, this deck, as we look at DKP's hand, this deck is fast. Look right there. You see one of the cards that he's teched in. That's Olivia Flavisham, not a card you see terribly often, but for 2 ink, it's uninkable. It has 3 lore. We're also running the Cursed Merfolk, which is 2 lore on turn 1. We have Fred, Mascot by Day, which is 1 lore, but if you challenge into him, you gain 2 lore. This deck is meant to win fairly quickly.
What? Did I just see a Jetsam Riffraff?
You did. You did see
All right,
Jetsam
I'm not going
Riffraff.
to lie, guys. I'm looking this one up.
Yeah, there's a lot of low to the ground card. Baloo is in here to gain 2 lore off the challenge. He has Bodyguard, Lilo making a wish, another 2 lore quester on turn 1. Of course, you have the Piglet Poo Pirate Captain on turn 2. And then at the top end, Sven, Reindeer Steed, a bigger body. And you do have Donald Duck, Musketeer Soldier, who I believe has Bodyguard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he certainly does. The Musketeer one, and it gives 1 lore to a character when you play him. But yeah, let me look up this Jetsam. Super interesting. What was the sub name again?
Jetsam
Riffraff. Okay, so we're a 3-cost 5/2 quest for 1. Your character's named Jetsam. I used to call him Jetsam.
Jetsam.
Jetsam get +3 strength. We are not playing. Oh, hold on, that's a Flotsam I'm looking at. I'm silly. I'm a silly goose. Hold on. It's because it's got Jetsam in the name. That's what threw me off. Here we are. He's a 3-cost character. 2/2 quest for 2 ward, and your character's named Flotsam. Gain ward. We are not playing any characters named Flotsam, so just playing this as a warded character, Liam. The quest for 2.
Inkable ward character. That's how you close out games sometimes when your opponent has the removal answers.
Well, we were saying earlier, Bivens doing something similar with the Aladdin 2 cost in a third-party event some weeks back. But we're underway. Turn 1, we see the Palace Guard, Spectral Sentry. He is an illusion with that Vanish keyword on turn 1, followed up by a Pegasus, which was announced today. An alternate art is going to be the participation promo for the 2nd season of the DLCs. I bet a lot of players are keen to get that in their hand.
Absolutely, and here you see him at work again. So if you weren't keen to get him before, here you see him being played in the World Championship.
Yeah, exactly. The semi-finals at that. So, yep, go to as many DLCs as you can. Get your promo Pegasus. Pegasi? I don't know.
Pegasuses.
Pegasua?
A pack of Pegasuses.
A pack of Pegasus.
A flight of Pegasi.
There you go.
There we go.
We got there in the end.
Yeah, we had to figure it out.
Turn 2, we're going to ink the Ursa Deceiver. Super interesting. We know there are 8 songs in Zach Bivens' deck, but instead opting to go wide, playing another Pegasus and a Lilo making a wish.
And this is going to be a challenge for Bivens to deal with. There are a couple of evasive characters on board. Neither one of Zach Bivens' characters will be able to answer. And we know that Din Kang Pham has several Baloos in hand, which will come down next turn in Bodyguard to guard those characters. Zach on turn 3 playing a bigger bodied character, gaining 1 lore off the White Rose when it enters play. And he's going to quest with the Palace Guard and the Calhoun.
And at least this Calhoun and the White Rose have that 3 strength, meaning we can immediately remove this Baloo. But yes, it does always, if it's banished, it will represent 2 lore. We've even got a Fred, Mascot by Day in the deck. When challenged, you gain 2 lore. This is spicy. There's that Baloo. Oh, nearly.
There he is.
Committed. And we're going to turn the Pegasus sideways, but not the Lilo, which makes sense. If we'd have brought this Bodyguard Baloo in this turn, then we just remove it, and then another one of our characters could take out this Lilo. So DKP being patient, maybe wanting to get down more Bodyguards to keep this Lilo alive as long as possible.
Perhaps. We do have some removal here. Strength of Raging Fire is in Zach's hand. That's available to be sung.
But we don't have evasive answers in the Amethyst Steel deck, like not through characters anyway. We have things like Strength and Along Came Zeus, but that doesn't feel great into a Flight of Pegasus.
It does not. The little 1/1 questers.
Yeah, exactly.
Good use of the term we just invented.
For sure. But Strength of Raging Fire is taking out that Lilo making a wish, threatening 2 lore. Like I think you wouldn't normally do that unless apart from the Bodyguard, right? Because if you risk keeping it around, then maybe DKP gets down a couple of Bodyguards, and now all of a sudden you can't hit this Lilo.
And there's that Olivia Flavisham, a card we haven't seen too much, but it's a 2-cost, 3 lore quester.
Yeah, Olivia Flavisham still mourning the loss of her father, probably kidnapped by Ratigan for some nefarious activities. But yeah, this Olivia Flavisham, similar to the Simba that we saw Zach playing in his Amber Ruby deck in the previous round. Won't see it this match because it has been benched, but just a 2-cost uninkable quest for 3. Also Pinocchio, the star attraction from Amethyst. Great to see these cards having a place in the World Championship, right?
I agree. Cards that have disappeared from the meta for a little while and getting a chance to shine here on the biggest stage.
Or you say disappeared, or never saw play in the first place.
That's true.
At least not at the highest level of competitive play. I'm sure people have seen it at the set championships, their LGSs, but not a card we used to talking about at DLCs, Liam.
And look at this board state, though. This is really fascinating because Zach challenging into Baloo, both players gaining 1 or 2 lore each. Now, DKP is on the draw, of course, but wants to be the beatdown with his deck and drive the lore total. But Zach has managed to keep parity along the way and is now pushing 11. So if Zach can get to the point where he forces DKP into response mode, that's game. So it's really, really fascinating to watch how Bivens has managed to control the board while also driving his lore total to the point that he's going to get within striking distance soon.
Yeah, 100%. This is really spicy, this deck that DKP has provided. And if Bivens wins this match, then we will see it in action a second time. Going back over to DKP, we're going to ready, set, draw, as is the tradition in the game of Lorcana. We're going to play down a Lilo and another Baloo, still not in bodyguard. And these Pegasus, just questing away super freely, no evasive answers in this Amethyst Steel deck other than obviously the actions and songs. And we haven't even seen a fire the cannons yet from Bivens. Although you would prioritize the Lilo, I'm sure.
Sure, at this point.
We saw an example of that not too long ago with the Strength of a Raging Fire taking it out. Finally, this Baloo is going to go on a little quest of his own, and now we are head to head at 11 lore apiece. But Bivens threatening to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lore up to 17 this turn.
Yeah, I know, this is really interesting. What plan does DKP have here? So on his turn, he can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, quest for 6 up to 17. Zach Bivens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 17 himself. So DKP not able to win in his turn based on what we see on board.
Currently, Bivens is winning this race.
Absolutely.
Like you said, Liam, DKP may be forced into response mode. But like I said, I don't know how many cards DKP has that can really do effective challenges. There's not a single... Like, the Baloos have 0, and the Pegasus and the Lilo have 1. At the moment, Bivens is winning this race, but let's see what DKP can do to try and turn the tide. There's a Zeus on a Lilo.
Zeus on a Lilo. What? I mean, oh, what an image.
That is over banishment as far as I'm concerned.
Poorly, and Zach questing out here. That'll be 7 lore, I believe. He did have the option to banish the blue for an extra, but not wanting to give that extra lore to DKP, and here we go.
Lilo sat by a tree, looking at a star, making a wish, and what happened? A thunderbolt came down and just sent a right to the Lordbook, and that's it. Zach Bivens takes game 2, and we will be proceeding to a game 3 in this final semi-final match for the Disney Lorcana World Championship. I am so elated. We're going to get a game 3, Liam.
The 2 of the best players in the world. You know, I try not to root for either player when I'm in the broadcast booth, but I always root for a game 3.
Always.
I want to see more Lorcana at the highest level. Now, what matchup does this leave us with, Baker?
It's a really interesting one, Liam. Zach is now going to be forced to switch to Emerald Sapphire items. There are 4 copies of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Whenever you ink, you may look at the top card of your deck. If it is an item, then you may play that card, not for 1, not for 2, not for 3, well, for 3, but free. Not free. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. We've got the Maurice's Workshops to complement these items and draw us more cards. Emerald Coil's in there as well to give evasive. Bell is in there as a turn 1 drop to be I think that's going to be really important in this match. I think, again, I'll have to ask Bivens if this is accurate or not, but to my layman eyes looking at this list, I think this is a hard alter for this Bell in this matchup specifically.
I think you're exactly right. Now, I think that this is a difficult matchup for Zach here. He has to navigate a really aggressive early game. We saw what Din Camp Fam can do with some of those high lore quests in the early game, but you do have a couple answers, a couple cards which can work to your favor. First, getting a Kit Cloud Kicker on curve here to bounce one of DKP's early high lore questers will be key. That's a turn 3 play that he can make. And then eventually, when you get to the end game, getting Under the Sea out in order to bounce everything back under DKP's deck. Because I'm willing to bet there's not a lot of very strong characters which won't be susceptible to the Under the Sea.
The glimmers are always greener on the bottom of your deck. There you go. We've also got in this deck, I mentioned it earlier, Ratigan's Marvelous Trap, which is an item that takes 2 lore from your opponent. But to the point you were making, Liam, cards that can combat this board. You mentioned Kit Cloud Kicker, bouncing a character of 2 cost or less. But we also have one of my favorite cards of the new set. I don't know how you can't smile when looking at this big boy's face. Louis the Endearing Alligator, a perfect name for this character. He's a 4/3, and on play, you give an opposing character Mr. Reckless. Will we see a Pegasus or a Lilo just challenge into this endearing alligator?
We just may. This is a card that Zach Bivens loves. I ran into him on the opening weekend of Reign of Jafar at a tournament, and he said, this is one of the best cards available right now. It answers the meta perfectly, and he was testing it out there. Seems to have liked it.
Absolutely.
Because here it is in the World Championship.
And another really interesting card in this deck, a card that I was maybe a little bit critical towards when it was first released, and to be fair, it hasn't seen a lot of play, but 4 copies of the Hidden Ink Caster, which is a 2-cost uninkable item. You do draw a card just for playing it, and then we get to cheat. We get to break the rules of the game, Liam. Every card has the Inkable Flourish while that Ink Caster's on board.
Speaking of them, we're going to ship 2 to the bottom of the deck here, but we do have 2 Cloud Kickers in the opening hand for Zach Bivens.
That's pretty good. I wondered if we would hard alter for the Bell, but maybe if your hand is sort of decent enough that you think you can combat, then maybe it's not worth the risk to do such an aggressive alter. But yeah, this list is spicy. Also 3 copies of Sir Hiss in the deck, who's a 3-1 evasive, so we will have a potential evasive answer to those Pegasus, although trading a 3-cost for a 1-cost doesn't feel great, but sometimes necessary.
Absolutely. So players shuffling up here, they're going to offer their deck for the cut. We're going to be underway here shortly.
Oh, this is tense, man.
This is really tense. This is one of those games, you know, we have control games that go really long and it's tit for tat back and forth. This, we're going to know how things are going to go in the first 4 or 5 turns here. Zach's going to have to navigate a very, very difficult board state in the first few turns in order to take it to the end game. Zach's deck is not meant to win quickly. Now, the other thing is, you pointed out Radigan's Marvelous Trap, a card that I'm sure you're a big fan of.
Big fan.
For a variety of reasons. We saw Zach in previous games against some aggressive decks start to cycle those Radigan's Marvelous Traps with cards like Tamatoa, pulling them back out of the discard pile. So this is a card that he wants to get going. If we can find one perhaps off an Oswald and get it cycling, that will slow down DKP and kind of lock him out from being able to win the game.
All right, so DKP is going to be on the play here. We're going to start off by inking that Jetsam, and down comes the turn 1 Cursed Merfolk, a 0-1 quest for 2, and when challenged, your opponent must discard a card, a super aggressive card in Emerald. We're going to be going with a Porpsicle over on Bivens' side of the board and a pass, so this Cursed Merfolk is getting at least 4 lore as far as I'm concerned.
That's true, and again, you highlighted the importance of that turn 1 Bell. Imagine the difference here if he's able to play that, not able to find it, so won't have an answer. And we have 2 on turn 2, the Lilo and the Daisy Duck. That's 6 lore on the board already.
That is
This
aggressive.
is a tough opening to overcome.
Yeah, just like that is such an aggressive start. We've got the Merfolk, who's definitely getting 2 more lore, and then the Daisy Duck and the Lilo both questing for 2. And what's interesting here is the Daisy Duck, pretty good odds to not give Bivens any characters. There are so many non-character cards in the deck, so it could be free lore. We're going to be inking a Fishbone Quill, and down comes that lucky rabbit Oswald. Can we get some luck from the top of our deck and cheat some items into play? The likes of Lucky Dime, Maurice's Workshop, the Hidden Ink Caster, the Quill, the Coil, the Galactic Communicator. There's a lot in this deck, and here we are questing away.
We
got one. We got one.
We got character Sir Hiss, but look at this board state so far. That Olivia Flavisham we highlighted earlier coming down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
We are nearly threatening game, Liam. We are 1 away from threatening game at this point.
This is going to be.
And the Donald Duck is in hand, and it gives an extra lore bip to a character.
Oh, that is threatening game.
Okay.
Now we can challenge into the Merfolk here. We also have the Cloud Kicker that we can play on turn 3. So we have some answers. But as it stands, you're right. With that Donald Duck coming down, that would end the game right now.
It absolutely would. The Donald Duck is a Musketeer, a 3-cost character, has Bodyguard, and on play you give an extra lore pip to one of your characters. Is Zach thinking about that, though? Are we ink him? Instead, it's the Louis Endearing Alligator, so no item for free on this turn. If this Oswald doesn't make a challenge this turn, then this game is over.
Well, let's see. We do have Cloud Kickers. Going to send out Olivia Flavisham back to hand. Oswald now probably going to challenge into that Merfolk, I'm guessing.
Excellent. The Cloud Kicker, super important there to prevent DKP from getting to game too quickly. Are we going to be making a challenge with this Oswald? I think we've got to.
I think we've got to as well. That Oswald would have loved to find a Radigan's Marvelous Trap, perhaps off the top deck. Not finding anything. Zach will have to discard a card. Emerald Coil going to the discard pile. The effect of challenging into that Merfolk. Back over to DKP with 6 lore on board. He'll be able to go to 14. We know we have... Okay, we won't play that Donald this turn.
6 lore up to 14. I think he wants to use it as a surprise. Oh, is it gone? Did he ink it?
Oh, he may have.
Because he definitely showed it to the camera a minute ago, and then he put his hand face down. So my apologies. I may have missed that. Maybe he did ink it, and I was getting a bit carried away there, because he definitely had one in his hand earlier.
He has several other cards important in hand here. He does have a Prince Philip here. This is a 3/2 character with Ward. Now, Zach does have cards that can bounce characters back to hand if things get out of hand, like the Galactic Communicator, but that Ward character could prevent that, or will prevent that.
Yep.
Aaliyah Flavisham coming back down here.
My apologies, audience. He probably inked that Donald, and I missed it. But yeah, we're going to play Olivia. We inked the Philip and played on an Ursula. No songs. I think the only song in the entire deck for Bibbins is that Under the Sea, and not hitting it this time. That Under the Sea could be a game changer. Can we find the Ratigan's Marvelous Trap as well to lower DKP's lore total?
That's what we need here. I think that is an answer.
2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, we need to take 5 lore off the board here.
Let's see.
We could take out two Lilos. That would be 4 lore gone.
We do have the Galactic Communicator, which would bounce things, but it feels really bad to spend your entire turn on that one play.
You could cut the tension in this room with a toothpick. At this point in time.
Spoon.
With a spoon. We are going to see that Porpsicle digging. Can we find like a Kit Cloud Kicker? Would have been really nice there. We do have one in hand, though. I just saw from the shuffle there is still a Kit Cloud Kicker in hand. Inking that Tamatoa happy as a clam. And second miss for Oswald. Let me count these items.
There's 30.
You've done it, have you? There's so half
30.
the deck. There's the Kit Cloud Kicker, probably the Olivia.
That would be my guess.
She does quest for 3.
Zach taking a look here, making sure. Now, those Oswald triggers, you know, it is a bummer to miss, but I will point out hitting a Ratigan's Marvelous Trap off the top deck would be so huge here.
So huge.
Something Zach's hoping to do. We're dividing up the challenges. I mean, the easy challenges here are the Lilos, which can be banished by each one of these characters. You lose the Oswald, though, which is a disappointment.
Yep, it certainly is. But we're going to do it. The Lucky Rabbit, not so lucky for Zach in this game, and the Kit Cloud Kicker doubling into those Lilos. So we've taken the pressure off a little bit. DKP capped at 17 lore this turn from questing. A trigger from the Daisy. We got Sir Hiss last time. We got a Scrooge McDuck. That's pretty good if that helps us find like a Ratigan's Marvelous Trap, although we wouldn't be able to play it yet. And it's a shame because, again, you want to if you've got a lot of items, then you could play this Scrooge for free. Oh, this is super tense. Zach Bivens putting down his hand, crossing his arms, and going deep into his mind palace.
Yeah, just a really tough matchup here. He drew a crab off the top deck, not going to help him here. He can challenge into the Daisy and remove it, but there's so much lore on the board right now. He'll have to deal with that Olivia Flavisham by itself, in addition to a couple other characters. So he does have the Galactic Communicator. We can bounce the Olivia Flavisham, challenge into the Daisy Duck. What else do we have to deal with that last bit of lore?
Galactic Communicator, pay 2, and then we're going to pay 1 more and banish it to return the Olivia to hand. The kits are going to double into the Daisy.
Play the Sir Hiss. And that will be Zach very sportingly playing it out.
Huge round of applause to our 2 competitors. Zach playing out as well. DKP with an incredibly aggressive start is going to be proceeding to the finals of the World Championship. A huge congratulations to DKP, who has had an amazing season so far and now finds himself in the finals of the World Championship. Commiserations to Zach Bivens, another incredible season. Top 4 of the World Championship. Liam, nothing to be ashamed of at all.
One of the top 4 players in the world, making it all the way here after an incredible journey. Shout out to both of these players. Incredible players, incredible people. Man, just thinking back
what a game.
On these players' journeys, each one taking a unique path here. Every single one of the players out there, all 28 of them, all leading here to this moment. Zach Bivens grinding it out through various tournaments. DKP on multiple continents. Every single one of them deserving of this honor. It's just the emotions out there running high right now.
It really is. Again, it means so much to all of these players. They've worked so hard. Obviously, everyone wants to go home with that trophy, but only one person can call themselves the World Championship. So it is now confirmed your grand finals is going to be the North American